Welcome to Arete's Trading Monday Recap. So what we're going to do here is go through a litany of stocks, the bigger movers of the day. There's a ton of NFT stocks in here. There are some indexes that I want to review. There's one index in particular that I'm going to wait to the end. I want to get through the review of all the stocks that moved. And there's one in particular that I really want to go over. But I'm going to wait to the end until I go through all the requests as well, because I have several requests here of stocks that people want to see, and rightfully so, considering the reversal that we saw today. So before we get into the indexes and everything, we're just going to run right through, the key thing that was going on here today that people need to be aware of, and then we're going to get into stocks and drill down into them. I mean, this came out on Friday, and the CFTC report clearly showed what's happening here, and this is the 10-year. I thought I had this up here already, but let me put this back in. So what's going on with the 10-year, and this is the 10-year Treasury. This is what's been causing us all the pain. And Friday, the report came out, and the CFTC clearly showed that people went net long the 10-year versus net short. Well, we saw that in today's activity, and we saw that a little bit on Friday with how the market rallied and how trepidatious everybody was to get in there. But what's happening here now is we're starting to fill this gap. Now, I don't know where you're going here. If I had to say, you're probably going to 150. That's not the issue. The issue is that we're not running straight up to this level. And that's what's important. Even if we got to here and it took a little bit of time, that's fine. Tech can digest it. What tech can't digest is when it moves that fast. When we move that fast, that's a real issue. So keep that in mind. But this is the crux. This is what you need to be looking at on your chart systems. This will be TNX. So, and let's just start getting into the stocks. So IDEX. What you see here. This is someone wants to know about. I mean, look, this had its run. Here's your downward trend line. You've come through it. You haven't broken back down, but my real support levels, you're right here. So this one's more important. I'll just move this one really quickly. But see this level right here? I mean, that's what you're on. Goes back to here. There's your support on this right now. So if you break that support, I would be concerned. That's 250. What is that? 295. But here's what's somewhat concerning. If tech rallies, and I'm going to talk stocks, but just you got to think about this stuff just a little bit, right? So if tech rallies, energy and financials are going to sell off. If you go through and look at the XLE and XLF, and I can do that at the end of this video for a little bit, which are the energy and the financial sectors in the S&P, you can see that they're toppy. And we talked about that in the newsletter about a week ago when they started popping up. It's not normal for Goldman Sachs to move 50%. So usually they regress to a mean, and that's exactly what they did. So if that's the case, anything that is energy related, please keep in mind that it's going to come in. And what you're seeing happen here is that the 21-day has now become resistance. And we talk about this, right? How these levels can all of a sudden be turned into resistance and support levels. And this is obviously clearly now a resistance level. And then you have this cross here, this 5-8 cross. You thought it was going to pop, bam. And then we got, rejection. And then you're crossing now to the downside. So you need to hold this. What should be troubling to anybody that's in this is that we hit the 21-day on a strong day, didn't break it, and closed at the low of the day. So if I break this 295 level, you're going to want to go. YVR, this was one we actually talked about in the NFT stocks to buy. This was the one that partnered with Atari. And I'll link the NFT video at the end of this video so that if you want to see it, you can. But I listed a bunch of stocks that I thought had the most potential to move. One was TKAT, and there's some others in there that haven't moved yet. So there's still opportunity in that video, and I'll link it at the end. But so this is exactly what you want to see, right? We can get rid of all the nonsense and indicators for a minute. I mean, you open right where you close, and you just run, and then you close here at an all-time high. Let's make sure it's an all-time high. Let's just make sure that, maybe they were making widgets years ago. Yeah, you have all this back in '07, but I mean, we're not really going to get into all that. So we'd have to go to a weekly to find something of substance, right? Certain stuff you can get rid of. Yep. I mean, and this is exactly what you want to see. Like this is this could keep going, right? So now what you have is, and let's just draw it out for you so you can understand what I see and what my thought process is. So I would say that it goes all the way back to about here, right? So from here on, from 18 on, I have a 3-year base. So this can move, and there's a couple key levels here that we've definitely broken above. I mean, this turned back here a while ago, but that one's not as substantial as this one. Like look at this, right? You're coming across here, and now you've broken above that trend line. And then if you really want to get technical, and I'm going over these NFT stocks a little bit because this is not going away. This movement is not going away. I don't know what the stocks do, but this is not going to go away. It makes so much sense for people that are in the crypto to be doing this. I don't see it stopping. See this one, this weekly one? Are you flipped here? And we talk technically here. I have fundamental opinions, but the value of this for you is to get key levels, and some people actually take notes. So you can see how you flip here, and then this 350, that's it. Once you got above that, we motored. And if we drill down now into this, look at this level. That's where it hit, back here, all the way back from something from 2018. That's why it's so important, guys, to look, and girls, to look at different time frame charts. I mean, it just makes so much more sense. Now you can see us building here. This is getting ready to swing. This is a huge base, and this is getting ready to swing up. I would not be surprised to see this consolidate and continue to run for a period of time as it builds. The volume coming in is huge. So this should be on your radar. YVR should be on your radar. You should be paying attention to this one. UAVS, I mean, this just looks nasty. Let's redraw everything, and we'll go from there. And as always, please subscribe to the channel and click the notifications. What we go over here is extremely timely. Again, some people have told me that they take notes because I give actual actionable ideas. I'm just going to try to get rid of everything here. It's putting up a little bit of a fight. Okay, let's get rid of these indicators for a second and just really drill down into this, right? So here's your 872 level, okay? And see, when you get rid of all your indicators, you can actually take a step back and look at what the hell's going on, right? And you can see what's going on here, right? Here's your left shoulder. Here's your right shoulder. Here's your head. This is not going well. So, okay, what do we do about it? Well, your first thing is you have this level right here. Okay, so you have this downward trend line that's very clear that you're not able to get above. You can't get above 872. See how support and resistance flip? So what you need to do now is think, okay, well, where would I want to get in this, or am I looking to short it? Right now, I wouldn't do anything with this. This just looks nasty. I mean, the 21-day looks like it might start to curl up. It did respect this 200-day, which means that we're holding right under here. So that's, if I was to look at it, that's the 200 days. Everybody knows it's the last bastion for the bulls. If it breaks that, you're gone. But you really can't look at this as a long position until you get above this 872 and get above this wedge line, right? And then you're going to have to deal with the 50. So you just have a ton of nonsense that you're going to have to deal with in here. But the first amount of it is 872. You got to flip 872. ZKIN was another one of those NFT stocks that was in the other video. And again, I'll link that at the end. But this is really simple. I mean, you open right here, right? You run into this, and then you close below it. But you still have substantial volume that's been coming into these names. These trades are not going to go away anytime soon. They're not going to be one-hit wonders. They're going to take time. They're going to build. They're going to bounce around. Think of it like how the genomics traded, or how 3D printing traded when that first started, or even you can even go back to 99, 2000, and how the internet stocks started trading. Whatever this theme is, and I'm not saying that these are going to be the winners. This could be like the MySpace of social media. We just don't know yet. But what we do know is that it's clearing key levels, and it's not looking back. And when you start curling like this, and people ask how I get to my target prices, look, no one has any idea where anything's going. Like anyone tells you for 100% it's going here, they're lying. None of us know. I've been doing this 20 years. We never know when it's going to stop. What your job is to estimate where it could go so you can determine your risk versus reward. So by looking at this, I can go, okay, well, this is the depth, right? This is my depth of my line, okay? So based upon that, okay, that gives me 560% from here to here. That's the size of my base, just to put it in perspective, right? How huge this move is. You can literally flip that move, invert it, and you're on the other side, and that's how you would arrive at a target here, which would mean that this has enormous potential, right? And that's a weekly chart, so you're talking about a yearly move, not a Tuesday, Wednesday move. But see how you're wedged in here? Once you flip that 1280, you're gone. And then the only other real little resistance you're going to have now is you're going to have this. But that's going to take you to $16, $17. And, again, from our entry point, or from where I entered right here, like today, I'm not worried about it. So any pullbacks to the 11, I would be a buyer. A break of the 1280 would also get me interested in for, a shorter term trade, but to at least see if we get through that. That would be the most important things. So let's just take it. Let's just keep going. I got a lot of questions about these NFT trades. It's probably from either the video or maybe that's in my head. Maybe everyone's just so interested in them, which is pretty fascinating. This OCG, this is textbook stuff, guys. So 950, bonk, bonk, right? We went over this. This was our trigger in yesterday's video, right here. It was a clear indication that this is where you're supposed to buy it. And we flipped and we went from there. So if it pulls back to this level, you might want to look at it. You could always pull back to here, right? And that creates another buy. Could you see that spot too? And nothing would be wrong if it does this. So see that 11 and a quarter? That's where you opened, that's where you closed, and that was your high here, right? You see how it builds it and curls with that? So in other words, what I'm showing is this was first the high. Then that became a close. Now that became an open. This shows consistent buying. This is not, just today buy. It's not like this and then we come back down or, a reversal. This is serious buying that's going on here. And I would guarantee that if I drill down into the hourly, which I haven't done yet, that when you look, you're going to see these spikes all along here since this has been going on, well above average. And they're still continuing. And look at how the red is just dropping off. Nobody's selling anymore. Okay, and look at the close of this on the look at the close of this on the hourly. This just might rip tomorrow off the open. You might want to put this on your list and just say if you break this 14-13 level, let's get rid of this real quick because this is actually worth talking about. This is setting up a little bull flag. Here's your flagpole. Here's your little wedge. You broke out of it. You're set up perfectly. If you flip 1430, 1435, this is something that that is actionable and you could actually put a position on and see how you do. Because I think that this could really move. TKAT is not going to be the only one that goes up. Everyone and their sister is going to be looking for the next one. And you can see this little line right here. See how you close on that and open on that right there? You'd be looking at $17, $18, fairly easy on an hourly move. And you always clone these lines, and by cloning them, what that does is it gives you the same trajectory, and you'll always find that they kind of fit right. Nothing's perfect, but you can see how they kind of fit right here, and just show you where your channel is. So this is how much more upward momentum you probably have on this channel, to 17, 18 bucks fairly quickly. I'd put that on your radar. Oh, and if I was in it, I would stay in it. Okay, why I? Well, this trend line we drew weeks ago is still holding in there, isn't it? So let's throw in the indicators and see if that's giving us anything. Yeah, it is. So you see this 50-day? And let me put these in here. So, 1 second here. All right. Okay. So what you're seeing on this is you're coming down here, but look how you hold, and then you bounce, right? And what is it doing? It's respecting the 21-day as resistance. It's flipping the 5 and the 8, which is not good. And now look where you are, right? So a close below this and you have to get out of it. If you're still in YI and you close below the 50-day, you have to go because you have no support until you get to the bottom of the flag essentially. And that's the 50-day, and that's $8. And you're not going to want to hang for this. You have to realize that certain stocks, when we correct like this, they're just not going to come back. I'm not saying this is one of them, but you just have to realize that. Two things. One, anything can happen, and two, this can always get worse than you think it can. I've been doing this for over 20 years. It can always get worse than you think it can. Trust me. So we saw it in 01, at the end of 2000, in 2008. You know, they were real corrections compared to this. This is nothing. And this stuff can really come in. But what I'm saying is that when you break a key level like this, you just have to go. You just have to get out of the way. And that's my point here. So if I was in this and I was looking for where I was getting out, it's this 15 level and breaking that support and breaking that 50-day. SBLK is one from the newsletter. Here's what's going on here. If we reverse and start going into tech, shipping might sell off. Now, one of the reasons I recommended this, and I don't really talk about fundamentals that much because I don't want to inundate people with too much, but they're a shipper. Shipping rates in the Bering Sea are up 15% month over month. So that's a staggering number. And this trajectory is clearly showing you what's going on. Now, today's action, if I'm long, I'm just going to honor the stop on the trade. Okay, it's that simple. I'm in at 17 and a quarter, 17.20. Stop's 15.75. I get stopped out, I'm out. Realistically, that puts me below both those moving averages and puts me down here. And if I get stopped out, if the stock goes here, I'm fine with it. So I'm going to let the trade play out. But there are some key things to look at here that if you were not willing to let the trade play out or you were just in from another level, let's put that up here for a minute. Get rid of that. Put that here. So I just want to show this real quick. So what you can see here, put you right here. We'll just make you a little bigger. Well, we're going to put you back. So I just want to highlight this because I think it's important. So here's your trend line. This is every single time you've popped out of that trend line. It rejects. That's not good. So, and again, as always, you just take these trend lines if you want. I can see them at this point. I've been doing it so darn long. But you just pop them right back in so that they're on both sides. So this has tons of downside if this comes in for some reason. You know, a third wave, a fourth wave, whatever happens out there that could drive the economy down, this can do that. But with that said, just honor your stop. My stop on this is 15.75. It was calculated when we bought it. I guarantee it's probably the break of this wedge line, which is exactly what it is, right? We broke the wedge, and I used this bottom of the wedge and the breakout bar as our stop. So if I get stopped out, I get stopped out. But you need to let some of these things play out because these could still go up while the Nasdaq's going up. You don't know, and that's why you have to have a process. That's why I always preach process, because no one truly knows. But if you can get an edge and then overlay process with it, you become unstoppable. You just have to be disciplined. So let's get rid of these indicators for a minute. Let's get rid of all this. We got stopped out of this one. So this is where I recommended getting it, and then we came down and we triggered and we got stopped out of it. And then we just bounced around. And this is why you always honor your stops. We lost, I think, $2, $2.50, or $1.50. I'd have to look at it again. It was just in the notes. But if you see here, once we triggered down, that was it. And then I figured, okay, let's just hang out and see if it works. It didn't. And we created a rising wedge, and then you have this bar right here that broke out. This is Tiger, T-I-G-R. See this bar that broke out of this rising wedge? This is called a frozen rope, okay? That's usually how rising wedges end. And I want to point this out. Yes, it's great to be in these, right? It's great to be in these moves. These moves always end with this, always. Doesn't mean that they don't build to come back up, but every great company you've ever traded, they have this pattern, where you go parabolic and then you crash and then you fill. So this hasn't decided where it's going to be yet, but this 1910 level we've been holding. And now you have this rising wedge and you're here. So just based upon that, you do have support. Now, that what would be troubling to me is we are decidedly below the 50-day right now. And fintech as a general has just been not participating in this rally. And I'm not entirely sure why, if there's a policy issue that's coming that's going to change these things, but that's how people are looking at it. They're not all excited about it right now. But you know what, I want to go back to this for a minute, because I do like the stock and the story, but you have to look at the price. And right now, if you break 1910, if you're still in this, you need to go. I don't know how else to say it, but because you're going to go to $16, and why would I want to drop another 20% and lose even more money? For the chance that it might come back. How about I just buy it when it sets up in a pattern instead? It seems to make sense. And guys, as always, please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking notifications, because what we go over here is extremely timely. PPH. And I think when I get to 1,000 subscribers, it lets me go live and have a chat room. And it'd be easier for me to do live calls in here than anywhere else. Than on Twitter, which the majority of people that follow this do follow the Twitter account, because I threw out live calls like UPST today and DMTK. Let me just fix this really quickly. All right. So APPH. This just does not look good. So let's not sugarcoat it here. So look, you have this long line down here. You bounced up here. You're forming that dreaded H pattern, right? And everybody knows that H pattern that I talk about all the time. And I'm just going to put it in here real quick. I mean, it's, that's it. And the reason I threw it in, for those that are new that aren't following it, is this is a lowercase h. And it's about as bearish as you can get. Basically, you have a bear flag. And then this is your flagpole, is the way I like to explain it so people can understand it. And then you're forming a little flag at the bottom of it, which is even worse than forming it at the top, where you could reverse it. So, that's really important here. And now we're rolling again. So to me, this is a classic short. I mean, here, yep, here's your level. Right there, right? I mean, it's like glaring, it's looking right at me. So when you break this, and I'm going to say when you break this, you're not going to want to be in this. You're getting no love today. You're getting no rally today. Look at this. You're just constantly selling down. The high was the open. The low is the close. You break this, and you need to get out of the way. It can always get worse. So, and I really want to drive that home, because I've seen it. I've lived through it. So, and this 5-8 cross is not giving you any love either. So just consider that. But this H pattern is something that you need to pay attention to. And when bear flags form at the bottom, it's more bearish. And when bull flags form at the top, it's more bullish. So something for you to remember when you see them. I mean, you really didn't break that, did you? Wow. Okay. So this is YVGVF. I'm not even sure what this is. Voyager Digital. YVGVF. And let's get into this one. So you basically bouncing around here, forming a little base here. I mean, technically it looks great. I think the move's over. Very similar to how we talked about, here and up here too, right? Like, look how many times it's hit this level. And what's it do? I get better with these circles. So, and what's it doing? It just keeps rejecting it. So if I really wanted to be in this, I can't buy it until it flips this. And when we get to UPST tonight, you're going to see what happens when you flip one of these, because it can go parabolic if it happens. But I also have I'm dropping off here. You see how my volume's dropping? It's not great. So this is the DAX. I had a gentleman that wanted to see this. That's from Amsterdam. So let's get into it. I mean, you're really consolidating here. And let's get rid of these indicators for a minute, because you really just don't even need them. I mean, here's your key level, right? 31.89 on the DAX. This is on the ETF. Obviously, it correlates to the numbers that are there. But look how you're respecting that on the DAX. And this does bode well for the U.S. stock market as well. Germany's an extremely large player over there. So, but see how you're starting to curl and you're starting to point up? You could start seeing these rise a little bit. And you have a trajectory here. So you have room on this. This has room to run. You have a solid 10% here. And what I would be concerned about, I'm just going to use the ETF levels for the people that may be interested in doing it here. 31.89, and then here, you follow this up, you're looking at roughly $34 would be your target on this particular move. MGM, look, these things have had an amazing run. Just absolutely amazing if you go back and see what they've done, right? But that run might be coming to an end. And the only reason I say that is because you're trading, these stocks are now trading at levels that they were at pre COVID. And look at this level. Like, this was the peak of the stock. Look where we're at. I mean, earnings are not better now than they were here. So we have an inflationary bubble that's going on, right? I mean, that's why they're moving. These kinds of stocks in inflationary bubbles, if the 10-year comes in, these stocks are going to come in. So understand that, and I'll say it again. If the 10-year comes in, these stocks are going to come in because money's going to come out of value and go back into growth. And something like MGM, candidly, is considered a value stock. It's a staple of the sense of it's an entertainment staple, but it's considered value. People look at the PE before they buy this, the earnings. It falls into that kind of category. It falls into the yield kind of category. Is it paying a dividend? Things like that. Think about that. And so when the 10-year changes, this could change. And it's no question that you can see how this has been dropping just right along with how financials move. This is like one big trade right now. So if you're up in this, I think that's great. I'm not a buyer here. I would be very cautious here. I think you're at least going to go back and test this again, this 34 level. Blink, they had some really good news today, and being on TV and everybody watching them. But let's get into this, because this is really very interesting. And look, here's your left shoulder. Let's get rid of all these lines. I'll just start them over, because I don't think you're going to be able to see this without them. And I'm trying to, as everybody knows, I try to educate on what it takes to be truly consistent and profitable. So that's why I try to educate why I'm doing this, not just regurgitate information. But so let's just go through exactly what's going on here. This is your left shoulder. This is your right shoulder. This is your head. You have an inverted head and shoulders, right? See where I'm at? Bonk, straight across. Where are we having issues? Right here, right? Once we got above it, failed. Once we got above it, failed. Tried to get above it today, failed. If you flip this pivot and you get above this left shoulder, okay, you'll invert possibly to this range, which would give you a 15-point move. That's how you would count that, right? That's the easiest back of the envelope way for you to understand this. So, depending if you're a beginner or not. Some people that are following aren't obviously beginners. But what that would do is give you the notification that, like, okay, if I flip 41, I need to be involved here, and what I would do, I might not even wait for this, because, sometimes it doesn't make sense to. I might wait for this and then just go. Because if you break this, the probability are that you're going to keep going. So I'm going to just tell you a 42 3/4 pivot, and then you would have the possibility of it moving up. But that's setting up to move. This is setting up with this shoulder. See why you only look at price for a little bit before you throw in the bells and whistles? Because it gives you a completely different photo. So here's your 8.5 MACD, or moving average crossover. 50 days up here, but this 21-day, look what it's doing. It's curving up, and now it's become support. This is very interesting. Blink is something you should be paying attention to. TKAT looks like it's going bonkers after hours. Absolutely crazy. So, look, I walked through this one on Sunday. To me, can you buy it here? No. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. My trade was very simple. I was very clear. If you looked at this little inside bar, I felt like you might retest it. You did retest it, and then you just rallied and exploded up. I had no idea you were going to make this kind of move on the stock, obviously. But the other trigger I gave was when you broke 33. When you broke 33, I figured you could at least test 40. This does not want to look back. It just wants to keep on going. So this is not something that you're going to get involved in right now, and it's not something that I'm going to, be pounding the table on right now. So let's snap. That's going to just start over completely, since there's. It'd be easier to do it this way, and let's drill down into this and see what's going on. Okay, so this is a very similar pattern to the other one that we just saw, right? But it's inversed, where this is my left shoulder, this is my head, this is my right shoulder, right? So, and guys, if you have comments or questions about things, please ask, please comment. I'm really trying to be educational here, besides give ideas. So I'm not crazy that you're not through the 50-day. The 21 days rolling. And I'm in a rising wedge. And we know how rising wedge is. I'm in a rising wedge inside this. So I don't know what the issue is right now. The one thing I will say that is good, and we're going to get rid of the indicators a second again. This is a hammer bar. This usually signifies a reversal. If you look at this bar here, the other thing that's nice about this is here. You undercut this low here, a part of this, right? So when you got to this and you got to the meat, you undercut it a little bit, shook people out that use this as a stop, and then they just jammed it right back up at the end of the day. So if you're in this, your stop is the low of this bar. That's where it should be, in my opinion. I would not be a buyer of this until I break above that level, that 61-ish level. The issue with that is you're still in a downtrend. So then you have to go and look at your indicators and see what that does. Yep, at least that would get you above all your indicators by the time that does. It get you through all your moving averages by the time that happens. So you need a break of this wedge before you get involved. Frankly, I think there's way better ideas out there. So I just want to walk through this one real quick. We don't need that anymore. We were stopped out of it. I just want to walk through this one, really quickly. When I did a live call today, the majority of them I try to put into the newsletter. And again, the newsletter is free, and there's a link in the description. But this just moves so fast. So I'm truly trying to figure out a way to do live calls faster. And I think it might be, on YouTube and setting up this chat room so that people can just see and then ask questions as well. But let's just keep talking about it. And if you have comments on that or other ideas, please let me know. And I appreciate any type of feedback on how I can get this information across in a more timely manner. You see how you broke this wedge? See how you tested the wedge here? This line's been in for weeks, right? It's been in for 2 weeks since back here. And this is your breakout. And this is where I stated to buy it, right? We were here when we bought it. We ran 5-6 points, and we just came all the way back down. That was the end of it. So what you're seeing now is we're finally clearing it, right? Now, we're not in it in the newsletter, but that's why I called it live. I'm like, of course it's going to do it today. And that's what it did. Look, you opened, you gapped up right above the the high, and then you just ran. And you came back during the day, but this just looks ready. And now if you overlay these indicators with it, this is picture perfect now, right? Let's expand these so you can even look at this a little clearer. Let's get rid of the 5 and the 8, right? And look at the 50. It's just a roadmap. And now you're flipping this, and we know from people from the past that when you flip this, what is it? It's this, right? It's the Bollinger Band. It's the median line of the Bollinger Band. What happens when you flip the median line of the Bollinger Band? That reverts it. The bulls are in charge. And I just leave the 21-day in there versus the bands. It's just easier. But look where that takes you to. So you can literally, and these Bollinger Bands, for people that are wondering, mine are set at a second standard deviation level. So right here, you can see where it's taking you. It's taking you to the top of all this. So this is heading to that level. So I would suggest that and argue that this thing's going back to $76, $77 for starters, and then go from there. Now I'll just take these out so we don't have to leave them in. But this is the buy line for the Bollinger Bands. That's what people use it for. And whether you use a simple or an EMA, you're splitting hairs. It doesn't matter. That little 50 cents is not going to make a big difference in your life. So RBLX, this actually started off like it was going to be something, and it just started falling really apart. And now we're just in this weird trading range, and I'm just going to draw it out for you. It's this bar. I mean, this bar is everything, right? So I actually think you're going to go back to the lower end of this bar and test it. So, and I'll tell you why I think that. This is RBLX. This is a left shoulder. This is a right shoulder. This is my head, right? We cannot keep above the 74.83. Stop. We're trying. We fail. See how we open there? And now look. Now we have moving averages that are coming in on an hourly, mind you, not a daily, and they're rolling. So, and now we've broken below this low, and then we didn't take out the high. So this is not something that I need to be involved in. I would wait until that develops because that can go to $60 fairly quickly. Let's walk through this one. So this is one I put in the newsletter today at 87. So this is pretty textbook stuff, guys. So you have a wedge. You're above these moving averages. Hold on 1 second. Let's put it all in. So I'm above all my moving averages. They all happen to converge right here. I love convergences. I've got this line here. I've got all these lines converging right into them. And I'm closing near the high above all this nonsense. So realistically, I'm going to the top of this megaphone pattern, and the megaphone increases as time goes along. So I think this is setting up for a much larger move. And that's why I put it in there. Would I buy it here? No. You could buy it if it flips the top of the day off a 15-minute pattern at like 92, somewhere around there, depending on your process. This has just been a huge disappointment. And there's not really much more to say about it. I mean, today we broke the 50-day, and it just looks awful. And you can just see how we're just rolling the whole way down. I keep waiting for it to stop. If I had to tell you where I think we could go to on this one, I mean that's where you're at now. Your wedge is definitely bigger, and you're heading to this. I mean, you're heading to the century mark. So I don't really see what support you have now besides this next level. So you could suggest that, oh no, we have to test the low. Okay, well that takes us to 118. That's very possible. And then if we break that, then you're going to this 101. So I would watch this, but I don't know what happened with FinTech, but it went out fast. This one is one we've been in the newsletter from since 133. And now the stop close is 143, and we're not stopped out yet. I'm back through this wedge line, and you can see support we broke the support level here. When we were hitting the 174 over and over again, I kept saying trim it, because we were up, 27% on the trade. So hopefully people trimmed it. If it gets to the 143, you're going to have, if it breaks this support level, which is 143.96, and closes below 143, you need to get out, because this could just be a double top failure and roll back down. And next thing you know, we're heading to 100 again. And this is an extremely thin stock. Look, when I get rid of all the indicators and just look at the bars. Let's get rid of all horizontal lines for a moment. So you can look at the length of these bars. So these are solid moves during the day. These are not small moves. So when this goes down, it's going to really go down. UPST. So I talked about this today on Twitter, and I stated where I was buying it. I'm going to walk through the trade because I'm going to get asked about it. So this was really simple for me. Just get to the day. Let's do it this way. It'll be quicker. So here we are. Okay. So from back here, there we are. So from back here, you opened, you gapped down, and then you broke. And then as soon as you did that, right here, this 132, and you broke down, you turned here, and then you had a little pivot right here. And I just want to show this pivot. I'm going to expand this out, and this is UPST, and I'm just simply showing how I executed the trade. So you see how you have this peak here? See how you have this wedge? These patterns work everywhere and every time frame. And people will say to me, well, I don't look at 5 minutes because I want to be in for a month. why wouldn't you want the best price possible? I've never never understood that argument in 20 years. I drill down into a minute chart. So, and I've been in a minute chart and held stock for over a year from that buy. So it's about getting the best price. People that tell you it's not about entry, or they're just wrong. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's all about your entry, because that's where you determine your risk. If I can buy something here and I have a little reversal pattern right here, and that's my stop, and I'm in this thing for $2, $3 of risk because of slippage, and this thing's a monster, well, look what it did today. And this is right, if you go look at the timestamps on Twitter, and I leave all them on there, this is where it was acquired. What did we do with it? Nothing. We left it on all day. So just because you're using a shorter time frame chart does not mean you have to think shorter time frame. It just means you're using a shorter time frame chart. So this was a very simple trade. And then my thought was, okay, worst case scenario, I'll just trade it out here. And then we broke above that 132, and then that was it. It was gone. And then I just kept updating on Twitter on the trade. And then I started updating here saying, you know, this one, well, now let's use this one because this will be easier to see. It'll be so blatant. So once we flipped here, this level, right, which is this 146, 147 level, and if you drill down into that level on like a 15-minute chart, okay, that's right here. So you can see how it's like pausing for a minute and then forms that flag and then breaks out of that flag. When you have patterns like this, see how these patterns all play with one another? Like that flip pattern just happened to be right where there was a high tight flag that breaks out, that then forms another wedge that then breaks out again. I mean, there are patterns to this. And the reason that there are patterns is because it's human behavior. So when you flip here, that was it. So this move, if you want to look at this move, right, and this is what I said, that it can go parabolic, and I want to explain what I mean by that. So you're looking at a move on the 15-minute, right, where we went from, you know, today and moved, and would we put on an extra 40% in 15, 20 minutes based upon breaking that? So, you know, from here on, and that was it. It just ripped. And now look at where your cost is on it. So tomorrow, I think that, and someone asked me about this, so I'm going to get into it, and then I'm going to get into the indexes and the key levels, and I really want to get into this one index. Because there's definitely a trade there. Look, when you flip this and you go higher, what I mean by exhaustive is this thing's not going to go straight up. You're going to run out of buyers. It's just going to happen. Okay, you're up 100% in 3 days. This is not going to last. Does it mean it can't go up again? No. Usually what this thing will do now will be go to, you know, I expect you could overgap tomorrow, right? And I'd expect, you know, 200 is where, if it gets to that, you're going to see major selling. The century marks are usually where they come in. But, you know, do I sell it here? No, because I don't know what tomorrow brings, and we know where, you know where my cost is because it's all over Twitter. So you just have to hold on to the trade. Do you buy it now? No. The only way you can trade this now is on much smaller time frames, and most likely you're going to have a gap up. If you overgap, which means gapping way higher than this, and you overgap up here, you're going to have backfill at some point during the day, and you're going to have opportunities to buy this. And they did have an excellent earnings report. I mean, they did. So this is Etsy, ETSY. And you can see how we're consolidating in here. I think this looks great. You're just consolidating. There's nothing to do here, but here's your setup. I mean, it's just setting up. And you can wait for it to break here, or you can wait for it to clear this, which is more conservative, which is 228. This gets you in cheaper at 223 3/4, and this gets you more secure at 228. Well, let's see exact. Let me give you the exact number. Yeah, 228. So consider that, and it depends how you trade. But this is consolidating and looks like it's getting ready to push. And you have a nice wedge pattern here, so this is going to break. And you can see how, and you get rid of these indicators, see how you trade around, right? And it's getting tighter and tighter. That's what you want to see. So look for those two levels, and then you're back in this channel, and this thing looks like it can go to 270, 280 all day long. And maybe you see this trend line, maybe you don't. So let's just put it in so that you can see it. See it? It's right there. So by the time that this gets to here, you'll be up over here 270, 280. It's not going to go straight up, but this is where we're heading, 270, 280. So that's definitely one to put on your radar. Okay, so looks like this will be the last stock, and then we're going to do the indexes. So in regards to NVAX, this looks really good. So here's what's transpired. You've come down to here. You filled this gap all the way down to here. Realistically, everybody thought we might come to fill the full gap, but that's not what happened. We filled to here. So I would have liked to have seen it come down to here, and I think you would have seen more buying, and maybe that's why it didn't happen. But look how you flip this level, and then you flip the wedge, and then you're flipping support. When you keep moving like this, it shows substantial buying. So I'll say that again. When you keep moving like this, it shows substantial buying, meaning I'm flipping a support level from resistance to support. I'm flipping a wedge line. I'm flipping, like it's motoring. It's got somewhere to be, and it's getting there, and that's really important. And you can see how these are turning and pointing up and how we're heading here. 276. You know, this has got 276 written all over it. So where do you buy it? I mean, candidly, it just broke out today. And here, look, very simple pattern. Here's your left shoulder. Here's your right shoulder. Here's your head. 148 to 230 gives you 100 points. So for me to tell you that it's going to go up half of that is not unrealistic. This could challenge the highs. You could pop back in this channel, right, and take off. But this is really simple. Higher high, that's your pivot point. Okay, and let me just get into the cues which are bouncing around here. I just want to lay this out. Like today's activity was great. There's stocks that we're buying. Continue to honor your stops before I get into this, because this it does look like we're going to bounce. Yeah, there's no question about it. It does look like we're going to bounce to me. And I've been saying that. I've been saying in the newsletter for 2 weeks now that I think the bottom's in. But I don't know that. That's what my analysis says. But nobody really knows. So you have to honor your process. But I just want to point this out today because this is really important. Look at the cues. Okay, this is your upper flag. We didn't break through anything. I mean, today was great. Don't get me wrong. It was a great day to make money. NFT stocks, there's always something to trade. But you need to look at the underlying theme. Look what's going on here. Right? So that means to me that this is not something that I have to be all in right now. Now, if I flip 323.81 and I pop back in here, this is going to rip. And you can see that coming. But we're just not there yet. You know, we can get excited about it. We can put positions on, but we have to respect them. But if I get to here, then if I flip this 324, it's risk on again for everybody because you're going to get the 350. And that's a 10%, 15% move, but depending upon how long it gets there. And the stocks, you know, the larger cap stocks is where you saw the money going. They're going to push today. So just keep those levels in mind. 324 is really the key level. And I just want to go through this really quickly. I think this is setting the NASDAQ up to go higher. That's my opinion. So everybody knows these lines, and I've had them in here for a while. And let's just go back to this on a weekly for a minute, okay? This was the frozen rope that came out of this. This is where you bounced on long-term support, right? And you held. This is the wedge that we've had there forever. This wedge looks ready like it's going to break this week, okay? So the high of this would be 423. So if you see a 424, 425 on here, right? You could even use the side of this bar, 427 if you want to get technical. But a 425, you see something like that, you're back in this channel and you're going to go to the higher end of it. When that happens, it's going to trigger the NASDAQ. That's my opinion. And I'm not predicting price. See how these crossed, but now we're up over them? See how we didn't come back and test any of these weeks? So that's really important. Like today, we acted awful off the open, right, with that opening price. But what really was that opening price? It was almost the low. We didn't even gap fill to the close on the stocks. We're still in this rising wedge, and we'll pop back over it. But when we flip over this line, right, which let's use 426 as a solid number. So that's going to be your solid number on this is 426 and a quarter, which is going to be right here. And I just add a quarter to it. So 426 and a quarter. When you flip that, consider buying this. Okay, and look at this. We've left these in there forever, right? And look where they are. So see how we tested this 32 again and then bounced right off of it? This is setting up for a really large move. And we just needed to confirm, and that's why we don't do anything yet. And this is why you don't do anything yet, right? Let's draw that perfectly. Look at that. So, but this is setting up. So that's it. And if you could do me a favor, comment and let me know which one of these ideas you think has the most potential. I'm really curious what people think. So if you could just comment which of the ideas has the most potential. As always, please like the video because I'm trying to get in front of as many people as possible to show them what it takes to truly be consistent and profitable. And that's it. That's a wrap. Everyone have a great evening, and I wish everybody massive success.